Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Passive Income Lifestyle Series. I'm your host, Travis Watts, the Director of Investor Education here at Ashcroft Capital. In today's episode, what we're talking about is how to seek advice and cut the noise. Disclaimers as always, never financial advice, not going to tell you or anyone what to do with your money. So please always seek licensed financial advice when it comes to your own investing. So in today's episode, what I want to share with you are three things that made the biggest impact on helping me see the big picture and build a solid foundation when it came to investing. And number one is to tune out the noise. Tune out nearly everybody and their opinion in most things that you read. Now, I know that sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but let me explain. You don't just want to openly take advice from anyone and everyone, okay? Because it's very common for us humans to want to reach out to our spouse or our friends or our family or our colleagues or acquaintances and seek advice because after all, we know, like, and trust these individuals. The problem comes when you're asking someone advice for something they haven't actually done or that they have to speculate on. You want to seek advice from one or two individuals who have actually accomplished what it is you want to do successfully, and you really want to tune in to what they have to say. I'll give you a couple quick examples. In 2009, that's when I got into real estate investing. I remember asking my friends and a bunch of family members if they thought now was a good time to buy a house as an owner occupant, as a first-time home buyer. This is, the summer, early fall of 2009. The overwhelming majority said, absolutely not. That is insane. Look, we're losing money hand over fist in our home. Our stocks are down. The world's in shambles. No way. Just go ahead and rent. Well, I went against the grain and I decided to buy a home anyway because I had to look at it through my own lens, not through headlines and not through advice of a neighbor or advice from family. I had to look at it from, hey, the government's handing out $8,000 first-time homebuyer credit. I'm buying a property roughly 40% off from previous pricing, and it's next to a college university. I can always get a roommate and get help with making the mortgage payment. So when I factored all that together, it made a lot more sense to me personally compared to renting. So that's a prime example. Another quick example, when I was 17 or 18, I remember asking my grandfather how to be a successful investor. And the reason I reached out to him is because I knew he was always talking about the stock market and he had a pretty big home and some nice cars with, my grandma. So I looked to him as a sense of affluence, if you will. He told me the answer is, for you being 18 roughly, open up a Roth IRA, max it out. That's it. That's your key to retirement, right? Dollar cost average, be in it for the long term, do the whole stock thing. Now, if I had taken that advice, my money would have been locked up till at least 59 and a half if I wanted to avoid, penalties and heavy taxation and things like that. In other words, I never could have achieved early retirement or early financial independence. Now, to be clear, there was nothing wrong with this advice to maybe rent instead of own or have a Roth instead of whatever. Nobody had ill intentions. Everyone wanted me to succeed. They were genuinely trying to give me good advice. The problem was I had to get clear with me. I had to understand what are my goals and objectives, okay? And for me, it turns out it was acquiring or investing in passive income streams and diversifying that across the board, using that to have an early retirement, being able to access that money in those funds in the current time frame and not when I'm 60 plus. All right, let's move on to number two, which is surveys and case studies. A little bit contrary to what I just shared with you, but again, let me explain. So if you don't want to seek out one or two individuals that have already accomplished what it is you want to accomplish and make them your mentor, and you'd rather get the opinions of thousands of people, nothing wrong with that. But make sure that the study or the survey has enough participants in it. Okay, a couple examples. I remember reading a survey of millionaires in America. It was one of the largest, if not the largest to date, survey on millionaires living in the US. And it was done, I believe, by the Dave Ramsey team. And so they found 10,000 plus millionaires, and they asked them all kinds of questions, and they ran all kinds of data. And this report was very dense. And I'd learned a ton from this, and I got so many great ideas, and it helped me pave a path to where I wanted to go. And I still leverage a lot of that content even today. And that all came from one study. Another example is when I started transitioning from single family home investing into multifamily apartment investing. This was around 2015. I found a case study that was created by Harvard University, and they went into very in-depth analysis and data as to what happened to multifamily apartments during the Great Recession, one of the toughest times we've seen for real estate. And it just helped me build a better mindset, a better foundation. I had more tools, more data, more perspective, probably knew more than 95% of people talking about the subject just after reading that one report, which was nearly 70 pages in length. So if you want to use surveys and case studies, again, just make sure there's enough participants and enough data in it. What you don't want to do is read the little headlines that say, hey, everyone thinks the sky is falling, and it turns out they surveyed 10 random people off the streets, and that was the conclusion. That stuff has little to no value. Number 3 is to be adaptable. One of the most underrated skill sets, something almost nobody talks about, but really being adaptable is the key to being a successful investor. We have to remember markets go in cycles, interest rates go up and down, stocks and real estate pricing goes up and down. So don't fall in love with just one thing and not know anything else. Instead, try to be an opportunistic investor where you're always looking at the highest and best use for your capital. All right, so I'll give you a couple quick examples. In 1984, this is where interest rates peaked. Investors could simply walk down to their bank and they could invest in a CD, which is a certificate of deposit. And it was pretty common to get a double-digit yield that was FDIC insured. 10 to 11%, somewhere in that ballpark. So a lot of investors and a lot of just ordinary people flocked that direction, and that's where their money went. Well, if that was your only strategy and your only knowledge of investing, what happened in 1986, just 2 years down the road, is rates came down dramatically, and all of a sudden the yields on CDs were about 5.6%. So imagine having set yourself up with the strategy of a double-digit yield, and all of a sudden you're looking at half that yield 2 years later. You have to be adaptable and be able to pivot. Now, if you were in the know and you were knowledgeable and doing what we're talking about, you would recognize that when interest rates come down dramatically, that's a positive thing for real estate prices. So guess what started to take off as rates pulled back? Real estate pricing. And it went up for the next decade plus up until around the year 2000, 2001. And last example that I'll leave you with is I made a pivot in my career years ago for purely educational purposes only. I worked for one of the largest brokerage firms here in the United States. And I did that because I had the safety net of cash flow from my real estate as a backstop. So I wasn't having to do a job for the money or the paycheck. I just wanted to learn what else is out there besides single family real estate, which is what I was doing at the time, and cash flow and equity and all that. What else was at my disposal? And I'll tell you, I learned a tremendous amount in the short time that I was there. And I learned a few strategies that I still use today. And they're opportunistic strategies, meaning there's some things you can do to profit in down markets. There's things you can do, obviously, to profit in up markets. And if the market's going to go sideways for a while, not saying I have a crystal ball. I'm just saying if you see these things occur, there are more tools in your tool belt. And that all came from expanding my knowledge with the belief that I need to be adaptable and able to pivot when needed. And so can you. You're listening to the Passive Income lifestyle series. I'm your host, Travis Watts. If you ever want to take a deeper dive on value add multifamily private placements, what we do here at Ashcroft Capital, we got some great things going on. You can email me at travis@ashcroftcapital.com. And to learn more about our current offerings and opportunities, you can visit ashcroftcapital.com for more information. As always, truly appreciate you being here. Truly appreciate you tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please share these episodes with anyone you think could find value. It helps out not only the channel, but videos like this reach more people like you. Until the next episode, have a great week, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.